Hi, Jason Allen Griffin here. Today I'm just going to go through the Fitness Journal, which is a trade magazine for the IDEA Corporation, a certification body for fitness professionals. And in fact, it was this magazine where I first discovered NIA when I was a personal trainer and fitness instructor, and went through the magazine and I read about NIA 19 years ago, and I have never looked back. So I thought it would be fun to just kind of go through the magazine and read to you some of the interesting articles that they give us as fitness professionals. I'm going to skip all the stuff that's about the fitness profession, all this career stuff, which probably doesn't interest the average person. So that's all this. And then here we get to the very first good article here, where it says it was about postmenopausal breast cancer risk. And they did a study of 400 women. And in 12 weeks, they gave them exercises, and they found that the ones that dropped the most body fat and lowered their body mass index the most were the ones that their cancer risk was reduced. And they said that this was supported by more than 100 epidemiological studies. So it wasn't just this one study, actually. But big surprise. You'll probably find that most of the articles in this magazine are going to talk about the benefits of exercise. Oh, here's another one. Middle-aged men, how can they improve their bone health? So here's one where 38 active men averaging age of 44 completed a resistance training or plyometric workout training 3 times a week for 12 months. And all of the subjects were given calcium and vitamin D supplements. So in the end, they found that both programs, the plyometrics and the weightlifting, produced significant increases in whole body and lumbar spine bone mineral density by 6 months into it, and improved even more after 12 months. Pain and fatigue remained low among all subjects. I don't know, it's hard for me to say whether the calcium and vitamin D supplements needed to be added to the study. It seems to be a factor. Anyway, new dads put on pounds. Apparently when a couple have a child, the father ends up putting on weight, and so of course they recommend working out and de-stressing as ways to fight off that post-birth body weight gain in men. So here's a sad little study that they did in the UK. They compiled the health records of almost 279,000 obese individuals and who were trying to lose weight, and they looked at, in a 10-year time period, how many of them actually did lose weight. And sadly, what they came up with was that 1 in 210 men and 1 in 124 women actually lost the weight. So, and that's just for standard obese people. When you talk about morbidly obese, the results were actually for men only 1 in 1,290, and for women 1 in 677. So it seems like the studies here suggest that surgery might be the best and only results-producing technique. Okay, so here's one comparing myofascial release technique to dynamic stretching for improving performance. Myofascial release is like the yoga tune-up balls or the melt or foam rollers, all those things, as compared to dynamic stretching, which is an active moving stretching program. And so in the end, they found that neither improved physical performance based on a vertical jump, but both of them improved hip flexibility. So there you go. Fascinating studies. This is an article about how teenagers in the United Kingdom seem to have an accurate self-assessment gauge about their own body weight, as opposed to American teenagers who have a higher incidence of body dysmorphia. And then here's a little article about how to properly wear a backpack. Basically, you want the backpack to be no bigger than the size of your torso. The shoulder strap should be padded, and also the back of the backpack should be padded. You should carry it on both shoulders and not just one. And make sure that nothing in the backpack is poking into your back. Here is another interesting article about the loss of fitness. So this one says they studied 17 young men about 23 years old and about 15 older men about 68 years old. They immobilized one leg for 2 weeks and then went on a 6-week exercise program to try to regain their strength. What was interesting was during the 2-week immobilization, the younger subjects lost more body mass than the older subjects. The younger ones lost about 1/3 of their leg strength, and the older group lost about 1/4 of their leg strength. Also interesting is that the 6-week program to rebuild their strength did not return them to their original strength, indicating that it takes more than 3 times the amount of exercise to recover from a period of immobility. In this case, 2 weeks of immobility, and then 6 weeks later, we hadn't seen any improvement in strength. All right, so then here's an article about tart cherry juice. So you heard it here first. Keep your eyes peeled for the next big trend in recovery drinks, which is going to be tart cherry juice. They say that it offers anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties, and it reduces post-exercise pain. All right, so here's an article on becoming an adaptable personal trainer and how to use crowdfunding as a source of income. Oh, this is interesting. How to train the 5 different types of fitness clients. Really quickly, I'll just list what they are. There's a physique client, and then there's a performance client, and then there's a physique and performance hybrid. There's also a fat loss client and just general health and fitness. So those are the 5 different types. And then obviously you want to approach each one of those clients in a different way. Oh, here's every month they do a question, and so all the trainers from across the country write in their answers. Their very leading question is, do your clients perform stretches before a workout, or do they do a dynamic warm-up and then static stretching at the end? And the consensus seems to be that the best way, which I agree with, is to do dynamic warm-ups before your workout and static stretching at the end of your workout. And in fact, doing static stretches in the beginning of your workout can reduce your ability to perform. Oh, this is a big old article about a fitness event. So it was sponsored by IDEA, so it gets a lot of coverage in the magazine. And then here's an article about the compensation trends for fitness professionals, how it's improved since the economy took a dump about 8 years ago, with all the different fitness careers and what their average pay is. Strange article about fitness couples, or you know, like Debbie and Carlos Rosas, or all these other fitness couples and how they do. What else? Oh, interesting article about boosting the power of eating raw vegetables. So carotenoids are something that they're fat-soluble vitamins found in the vegetables, and they reduce inflammation and they have antioxidant properties. But they found in this study that the fats contained in eggs, when consumed with raw vegetables, help our bodies absorb the phytonutrients, the carotenoids. And they said that any egg form could help it. What does this say? Oh, eating eggs with vegetables improved carotenoid absorption by 3.8 times, almost 4 times the absorption of those healthy chemicals. And they concluded by saying that any animal egg would work as long as the yolk is consumed. So don't be having egg whites with your salad. Here's the recipe on roasting fall vegetables, and then some little food tips on eating vegetarian. So it recommends Dulse, and then some products that imitate meat. And then here's an interesting thing where it's talking about the leaves of broccoli are apparently becoming trendy to eat again, or becoming trendy to eat now. Here's an article about an emerging male eating disorder. So it says that they're finding that many men are turning to legal over-the-counter bodybuilding supplements as a means of achieving body perfection. It's so rampant that they're starting to qualify it as an emerging eating disorder. So look out for those supplements, guys. Here's a section that they call Food for Thought, where they have a quote. I like this quote. It says, "Nutrition is the cheapest form of healthcare. We as a nation must figure out a way to address the healthcare tsunami before the morbidities associated with bad nutrition really start hitting. Whether it's through the Affordable Care Act or private insurance, we will all pay for it. So let's try to pay for it before it arises." This is a question about fiber. A question from a reader. Is the fiber found in fortified foods as good for you as the fiber found in naturally occurring foods? Which is a strange way of wording it. I would say that fiber found naturally occurring in foods, but anyway. The answer is no, they're not the same. For many reasons, they recommend the fiber found naturally occurring in foods over fiber that's been added to processed foods. Definitely not the same thing. 5 ways to cut food waste at home. 1 is to shop and plan ahead before you shop. Then second one is to freeze food that you can't eat. The third one is to cook it or juice it or blend it so that you can eat it up. Composting instead of throwing things away. And then read past the expiration date. So just because your milk says that it's best by November 1st, that doesn't mean that you have to throw it away at midnight on November 1st. It's just, you use it as a guideline. A lot of people will throw away perfectly good food because the date is passed, and so that's wasteful. There's a recipe for spinach and caper sauce to put on pasta. A big long nutrition about how switching to a plant-based or a plant-emphasized diet can help save the ecology of the planet, that it's good for the planet. So here's an article on how to deal with obsessed members. So that's a professional article there, so I'm not going to go into that. Oh, here's some exercises to help students with what we're calling tech neck. And that is, see my neck? So some exercises that they show are doing things where you pull back like that, or lying prone and doing waves such as this, or wall sits, or bent over reverse flies, things that emphasize the strength in the back of your body. Here's a sample class for a circuit training class. It's an article about new fusion fitness classes. Yoga combined with faith is one of them. Another one is doing parkour at the zoo. Here's one that combines Pilates and water, in the water. One called Shrink Session, where they combine cardio exercise with mental positive thinking exercises. I'm laughing because I get a kick out of all of the things that they decide to combine, to put together. A nice article about the value of a mind-body connection. Some of the things that they say, they call it interoception, is improved by mind-body exercises. Some of the things like increased sensitivity, reduced reactivity, ease in self-regulation, more presence, and having more positive experiences and more embodied effects through life. There's a study that they did about the benefits of walking meditation. They compared a Buddhist walking meditation style program with a traditional walking exercise program. They found that both programs increased functional fitness, but only the walking meditation program reduced feelings of depression and lowered blood cortisol levels, which is important. Here's one that says, for Americans, yoga is about health more than spirituality, duh. Interesting tidbit here on that article is that in 2012, the Yoga Journal survey reports that $10.3 billion a year were spent on yoga classes and products, where that's compared to in 2008, half of that, still $5.7 billion were spent. So that's a lot. Here's an article about Tai Chi being used to improve cardiac rehabilitation patients. It was compared to a stretching, upper body, lower body, and spinal stretching program. And they found that there was a 14% improvement in the strength of the heart measured by a VO2 test, which is a maximum heart rate test, for the Tai Chi participants, but actually a reduction of 5% in the health of the heart in the people who only did the stretching program. Here's an article that compared Pilates to PNF stretching for improvement in balance. And they found that PNF stretches significantly improved both dynamic and static balance, whereas people who did only Pilates found improvements only in the dynamic balance, not in static balance. So that's interesting, isn't it? Oh, an article on meditation, which I like. As you probably know, I'm a big advocate for meditation. This sort of sums it up. I love this little section here where the guy says, sometimes folks don't know until they sit down quietly that their mind is all over the map. It's necessary to know this, otherwise we may believe the notion that meditation can immediately give us a quiet mind. As we practice, we can discover that there's something healing about cultivating the ability to simply be where we are in the present moment instead of having our thoughts head toward the future or toward the past. Ironically, people sometimes don't realize the benefits of meditation until they've stopped. When they experience hard times, that's when they sense the value of meditation and often return to the practice. So, it's quite a long interview, and there's an article here about the standards of practice in the fitness industry, and then a quiz that you can take as a fitness professional to get continuing education credits by reading the magazine. And here's an article that was on the impact of chronic pain. So someone who's suffering with a lot of pain in their body on a daily basis, they're going to develop, according to this, they'll develop mental and physical bad habits based on protecting themselves from the pain in whatever way. And so they advocate things like drinking distressing herbal tea, turning off the television before bedtime, proper nutrition, massage and body work, and anything that helps to calm your nervous system will help also with your body. And then so the last thing here is an infographic about EPOC, which is excess post-exercise oxygen consumption. And I believe it's the same thing that we used to call an oxygen debt, or it's also sometimes called the afterburn. When you exercise, then for several hours afterwards, your metabolism is heightened and you're actually, burning fat. It's the EPOC, the excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, is most strongly related with fat loss. And so The basic idea of this infographic is saying that people who do short bursts of high-intensity exercise create a higher excess post-exercise oxygen consumption than people who do continuous moderate exercise. So, food for thought. And that was the October 2015 issue of Fitness Journal. Thanks for listening.